So welcome to a bit of a different type of video. I'm doing trying to experiment a little bit with this one. So I've been watching a lot of like Iceberg videos. They keep coming up in my recommended, even for stuff I'm like not even that interested in. And I find them really interesting. I think it's cool taking a topic and like seeing sort of the levels. Usually franchises, you know, seeing the levels of like, you know, the surface level information and slowly going down into the more weirder or darker topics, I guess. And yeah, I found this good Tokusatsu one. I thought it would be good, you know, for people to learn more about it, and for me to learn more about it, because I'm a bit of a newbie when it comes to a lot of this stuff. There is another Tokusatsu Iceberg video on YouTube, but it was for a different Iceberg. That one dealt more with like, I guess, things that went on behind the scenes, and I think it got a lot darker than this one. But this is more surface level stuff, like not surface level stuff, but like it's more just about the shows in general, I guess, rather than what's going on in and outside of the shows. So yeah, that's mainly what it is. Like, it starts off with the most commonplace stuff, the stuff that people know, and then it slowly goes down into the more weirder stuff. It's like the less heard of stuff. It's just like the slightly nicer, more fun one, I guess. And I thought it would be interesting to do. I'm excited to do it. I learned a lot doing it, and I want to share that, I guess. Okay, so we are starting with the newbie level, I guess. This is just the basic knowledge that people know about Tokusatsu, who don't really know that it's like a thing, but these are just like the commonplace, you know, mainstream things that everyone knows. Everyone knows. The first one of these topics is Godzilla. Godzilla is a famous pop culture icon that got its start in 1954 with the film of the same name. There have been 35 films that made in the Godzilla franchise, with this 36th coming out this month. There have also been TV shows, video games, books, comics, figures, and live shows based on him and his vast catalogue of monsters, most of which I have seen, read, watched, and own. Alright? I am very, very much familiar with the Godzilla franchise. It was the first Tokusatsu thing I got into, I guess, unless you want to count Power Rangers as a kid. But yeah, it was my gateway into all this stuff. And only recently I've kind of branched out from Godzilla. So yeah, I love the Godzilla franchise more than most things, except for people, I guess. But yeah, it's something I'm very passionate for, and I've made tons of videos on, or discussed it multiple times in videos on this channel. So I'm even wearing a Godzilla, King Kong vs. Godzilla shirt right now. That's how far it goes. So the second one, and the only other one on this level, is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. This is a show that ran from 1993 to 1995, and was a series created by Saban about 5 teenagers with superpowers that could summon giant robots called Zords, and those Zords could combine to create a Megazord. The show is an American show, but the action sequences are taken from a Japanese show called Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. Yeah, everyone knows Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I watched the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie religiously as a child, and it's kind of funny how these things, I guess, come kind of full circle. Not that I do watch Power Rangers anymore, but you know, everything's connected, I guess. Next up, we get to Understands Tokusatsu level. So, Understands Tokusatsu level basically, to me, is like, you know that it's a thing that exists. If you know that it's a thing that exists, then you've most likely come across these names, these shows. Yeah, if you understand the concept of Tokusatsu, you're probably familiar with all of these things to a certain extent. So the first one I'm going to start with is Kamen Rider, also known as Masked Rider if you directly translate it. Kamen Rider is a tokusatsu show that originally started airing in 1971 and was created by Shotaro Ishinomori. The show included a hero called Kamen Rider who was known for his grasshopper-like design, motorcycle riding, and his signature move, the Rider Kick. Kamen Rider is a show that is still having new installments to this day, with the newest Kamen Rider series, Kamen Rider Saber, airing right now. And I'll go to Shotaro Ishinomori as well, the creator of Kamen Rider, although most of his work is actually writing anime, but he has also made a few other shows that we'll talk about later on this list. Super Sentai, I've mentioned this one before. It's another Toei property, just like Kamen Rider, and it's about a team of superheroes dressed in different coloured costumes that summon giant robots and do cool poses. I don't know, I haven't actually seen a Super Sentai show yet. And yes, it is where they get all the footage for the Power Rangers. This includes the other Power Rangers shows, not just Mighty Morphin. Moving on from that, post Mighty Morphin Power Rangers shows. These are shows that came after the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was finished. This includes Power Rangers Zeo, Turbo, Lightspeed Rescue, Ninja Storm, and many others. These shows are similarly based on other Super Sentai shows because they ran out of footage to continue creating a show based on Zyuranger. So the reason why they had to change from Mighty Morphin to Zeo was because they needed another Super Sentai show to borrow footage from. I think even towards the end of Mighty Morphin they were using footage from other shows. I don't know which one, again, I'm not super familiar with Super Sentai. Eiji Tsuburaya is a special effects director well known for working on the early Godzilla films and starting his own production company called Tsuburaya Productions. In this production company he created Ultra Q, Ultraman and Ultra 7 before his unfortunate death in 1970. He also technically kickstarted Tokusatsu on television with these shows. Which then I guess I'll go into Ultraman. I have also mentioned this before, and is one of the earliest Tokusatsu heroes on television. He's a person that can transform into a giant alien to fight giant monsters. Just like Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, this show is still going to this day. I'm pretty familiar with Ultraman, just like Godzilla, I guess. Not as familiar, I've watched like one or two shows, and I made a video on that Ultraman Max episode as well. Finally on this level, we've got Ishiro Honda. He is a Japanese director and one of my personal favourite directors. He's most well known for creating the original Godzilla from 1954, many of the Godzilla sequels, Rodan, Mothra, Battle in Outer Space, and Matango. Yeah, I do really look up to this guy. I do want to watch more of his work, like I just mentioned then, stuff like Matango, I guess. But yeah, I love Ishiro Honda's work. I mean, it may as well make sense. Same with all these people, really. Yeah, great. Finally, oh, did I say finally for the Ishiro Honda one? Yeah, we got another one that I forgot about. Taisen Movies. These are series of films that came out from 2012 to 2017 and are crossover films between the different Toei-owned Tokusatsu heroes, like the different Kamen Riders and Super Sentai heroes. So yeah, I haven't seen any of these because I'm still like only watch mostly like early Heisei Kamen Rider stuff, so a lot of the characters that show up and I'm not familiar with yet. These look really cool, especially the posters just on their own, seeing all these characters together, like, these look really interesting. But that is the Understands Tokusatsu level. So now we're getting to interested in Toku, so I'm assuming this is more like, you know, you are actively interested in the subject, you actively watch shows, you probably will come across most of this stuff. So we're starting with Metal Heroes. Metal Heroes is another Toei Tokusatsu show similar to Super Sentai and Kamen Rider, which got its start in 1982. Unlike those other two shows, Metal Heroes has been off the air in Japan since 1999, but the characters still show up in movies occasionally and crossover events. I think, like the Taisen movies, I think they do show up in some of them. But yeah, these shows look really cool, especially the designs on them. And I'm pretty sure the design for RoboCop was based on some of the early Metal Heroes. So yeah, there you go, there's something that it connects to. But yeah, the Metal Heroes shows look really cool. Ultraman official releases. I believe this is referencing Mill Creek Ultra Series DVD releases, which are only in the US, by the way. There are also some other more obscure English subtitle releases for the original Ultraman, which is rare for a Tokusatsu show. I'll just say like barely any of these I'm going to be mentioning have official releases outside of Japan. And unfortunately these releases haven't reached Europe yet, which I would very much like. I think it would be great if we could get these shows available in this country. But I don't know if there's enough of a market for it, but I'll definitely support that. Kamen Rider American Adaptations. There are 2 attempts to bring Kamen Rider over to the US. One of them was by Saban, which was called Masked Rider from 1995, which is based on Kamen Rider Black RX, and Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, which is based on Kamen Rider Ryuki and came out in 2008. Masked Rider is very much disliked, and I have no interest in watching. Whilst Dragon Knight has like a bit of a cult following, there's a few people that do quite like it. Yeah, Masked Rider is usually seen as quite a bit of a flop. But I'd be interested to see what Dragon Knight's like. By the way, Dragon Knight was not created by Saban either. Kikaider is another Toei Tokusatsu show made by Shotaro Ishinomori. It's a franchise that gets some films and spin-offs from time to time, but is well known for the original series Android Kikaider from 1972. Again, I've seen the design for this character, but I'm not familiar with the show at all. But I don't know, if it's considered a classic like Kamen Rider and such, I will probably... I'll watch it. I'll definitely watch it. There's a long list after doing this of stuff I need to watch. And like I've barely even like scratched Kamen Rider, and that's still like what, 250 episodes or whatever I've seen. TV Nihon is a group of people who are well known for translating and distributing tokusatsu shows for fans, including keeping up with the most recent episodes that are currently airing. I mean, that explains it. I'm just going to say these people are absolute legends. They brought over these shows. Those of these shows still aren't subtitled, so it's great the work that they've already done to bring us these kind of shows and let us enjoy them, despite the fact we do not speak Japanese. So yeah, this is the problem when it comes to not having official releases outside of Japan. This is the only way that you're going to be able to watch them. Although I think a few shows do have it now, like Kamen Rider Kuga now has an official subtitled release over Tokusatsu and stuff. So yeah, it's sort of like that position I assume like anime was in when it first got popular in the West, where there wasn't, most of the subtitled versions were bootlegs and like, you know, not official until they started officially dubbing and subtitling the shows. Hopefully the same can happen to Tokusatsu. Toei Tokusatsu World Official is a YouTube channel that is owned by Toei, where they upload full episodes of their older shows with English subtitles. For their more obscure shows, they'll upload like the entire show, but for their more popular series like Kamen Rider, they'll upload 1 or 2 episodes of a season, usually the first 2. This is how I started, I mean, I'm only 2 episodes in, but this is how I started watching Kamen Rider Amazon, the original show. And yeah, they have got a few full series on this, so they are definitely trying to do it a little bit more, but like I said, when it comes to the Heisei shows, it'll literally just be like 2 episodes, so how are they meant to watch the rest of it? Yarr. But yeah, that is, it's a good thing, but like, probably not enough of it. Try, if you can, if you want to watch a show and it turns out that it is on that channel, it's probably a good idea to watch it there. The Power Rangers comic is a pretty recent comic series about the Power Rangers, created by Boom Comics. The series is well known for some of its new concepts and characters that it has brought to the Power Rangers universe, like Lord Draken and Ranger Slayer. I haven't read these comics, but I've played games like Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, and there was that app that I was addicted to. Yeah, Legacy Wars, which have these characters in them, and they have really cool designs and stuff. I just don't really know how they come into the universe, but I'd love to read those comics at some point. They do sound quite interesting. I know they're doing like a massive set, like collector's set of them soon they're releasing, so yeah, I don't know, I got an extra however much it's worth, sure. Garo, aka Golden Knight Garo, is a tokusatsu series that aired from October 7th, 2005 to March 31st, 2006. Similar to most tokusatsu, it has a variety of sequels and spin-offs. I really want to watch this one. This one looks really cool, and I like how it's not, you know, I think something that's quite daunting about a lot of these shows, especially the earlier ones, is how long they are. But this is only 25 episodes, 20-minute long episodes as well. Shouldn't be too hard. And yeah, it does look really cool. yeah, I'll definitely watch it. This one's just a quote that says, Tokusatsu has Western fans? I'm assuming that's how it's meant to be said, because it's got the question mark. This, I'm assuming, is referencing that there aren't many Western Tokusatsu fans, compared to something like Western superhero or anime fans. And people are usually shocked by how many there are. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't encountered many people that are into it. Like, I know a few people. Tom. I actually met someone cosplaying as the original Kamen Rider once, which was really cool. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's definitely growing as well. I think it's becoming more mainstream than it is. So, yeah, I think people do kind of get surprised. But then again, I think if you know what Tokusatsu is, then you're probably a Tokusatsu fan. It's not really like a commonly used word, I guess. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm assuming a lot of Tokusatsu fans get that. I never have, so yeah. Don't really know what to think of that one. Keita Amemiya is a fantasy character designer who's worked on a lot of Toku projects such as GoldenEye Garo, Kamen Rider Black and Black RX, and my personal favourites, Kamen Rider Zedo and J. Yeah, this guy's art is amazing. I'm just going to put some of it up on the screen now. Not which end, it's probably this end. I'm going to put some of it up on the screen now. It's incredible, like genuinely it's some of the coolest artwork he's done, and he's directed quite a few Tokusatsu movies like, what's it called? It's Robotic Violator Kikaider, I think that's what it's called, and the Zeiram series as well. But yeah, I love this dude's work and I really want to watch more of it. I think it's made in that, like, in the 90s era of Tokusatsu, where there's that really good mix of that early CGI where it's kind of needed, but then it's also mostly practical effects, and the best practical effects at that point as well. So yeah, I'm really interested to see more of his stuff, but Zeto and J, amazing, I love them. And finally we're going to end off with a bit of a funny one, Toei Spider-Man. So Toei Spider-Man was a Japanese-produced Tokusatsu series that was intended to get Japanese audiences interested in Spider-Man and other Marvel properties. The series is most well known for being liked by Stan Lee over the actual 70s Spider-Man show that was airing in America. There is a mini documentary on Disney Plus as well that you can watch if you want to know more about this, which is cool because it gets this sort of stuff more in the mainstream, which is really neat. And yeah, I haven't seen Toei Spider-Man, but I do find it really interesting. I love, like, I've seen like a lot of the stunts that they do in it, and it's pretty surprising. I was pretty surprised what they do. Like, wow. And like Stan Lee said, it's more than what was happening in the 70s one. Like, because the 70s one was filmed in New York, you couldn't actually have him climbing buildings and stuff, which the Japanese one did. And this will come back later as well, Stan Lee liking Tokusatsu. So now we're getting into the little known Tokusatsu media. So this is even by Tokusatsu fans, some of this stuff isn't heard of. I definitely learned a lot from this one. But there is also some stuff I was familiar with. Starting with, this one was a bit hard to research, V3 and Gorenger in Hawaii. I believe this is in reference to both shows airing in that state and becoming popular alongside other Tokusatsu and anime. I'm assuming Kamen Rider V3 and Gorenger were just really popular there. I was able to find some stuff about V3 in some sort of news broadcast in Hawaii, but yeah, nothing on Gorenger except for like a forum post where people are remembering the show and stuff and the other Tokusatsu shows that aired there. I was already familiar with the fact that Hawaii had a lot of Tokusatsu in the 70s before it kind of became very popular. Or it never really became, but before stuff like Power Rangers, they actually had the Super Sentai shows airing, and on top of that, I think that's where some of the first Americanized Godzilla merchandise was made in Hawaii. So, yeah, interesting stuff. So Kenji Ohba is a famous suit actor known for playing many Toku heroes like the Space Sheriffs from Metal Heroes, Kikaider, and Aka Ranger from Gorenger. He also played a character in both Kill Bill movies. I think he was one of the, what are they called, like the Army of 88 or something? I'm going to have to put it up on the screen what they were actually called. But yeah, it's kind of cool how those sort of things cross over. Extra fun fact, I'm not sure if this is true, but I've heard it somewhere, that some of the Pagoda sets or something, or just some of the sets in general, maybe it wasn't Pagodas, but some of the sets that were used on Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah were also used on Kill Bill, which is insanely cool. But yeah, supposedly some props were borrowed. I don't know if Toho helped out with that side of filming for Kill Bill, but it's cool. It's cool either way. Other 90s Saban shows. So, other than their famous Power Rangers franchise and not so famous Masked Rider, they also attempted to bring over Metal Heroes twice with VR Troopers and Big Bad Beetleborgs, as well as their original show, Mystic Knights of Tirnanog. Weird name. I think it's based on like Irish folklore and stuff, which is kind of neat. So yeah, they tried bringing over Metal Heroes twice, and I think with the VR Troopers one, they combined 3 completely separate Metal Heroes shows, and even though in the Japanese footage they were never technically together, they found a way to splice the footage together to make it look like these 3 heroes were in the same show, and of course made their own footage on top of that. Hiroshi this is gonna be hard. Why isn't every video I have to pronounce names that are difficult to pronounce? Hiroshi Miyauchi, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, is a Japanese actor that portrayed many Tokusatsu hero characters. Characters such as Kamen Rider V3, Power Ranger from Gorenger, and Big One from JAKQ Dengekitai, which is another Super Sentai show. Yeah, he's played some pretty popular characters. A lot of these are just the ones with the actors. Maybe there might have been something else that the actors did, but just reading these, it's like, yep, that's what they did. That's the characters that they played. These are famous actors. This guy wasn't in Kill Bill though, so it's not as cool. Skullman is a manga that was started in 1970 by Shotaro Ishinomori that would become the basis of Kamen Rider. It was originally going to be far closer to the manga, but it was deemed too mature and violent. So yeah, he wanted to turn Skullman into a show, but then it was sort of transformed into Kamen Rider, and it was made more child-friendly. I mean, looking at just like some of the illustrations from Skullman, it does look pretty bleak. This is a really cool one. Ultraman vs. Kamen Rider is a TV special released in 1993. Toei and Tsuburaya teaming up to discuss the history of both characters. It then ends with both characters teaming up to fight a common enemy. And yes, Kamen Rider does blow up to size, so that he's like on par with Ultraman. And yeah, this is just like one of those really weird things. I assumed it was like just the special part where like the two of them team up, but like no, they actually have like a bit where it's sort of more like documentary-esque, I guess. Like not too different from like the TV specials you'll see, like explaining some sort of franchise or something. Like what's that one? There's a Godzilla one that the BBC made. It's really like kind of obscure, but it's something like that, I'm assuming. Inazuman is another tokusatsu series created by Shotaro Ishinomori and started airing in 1973 and had one sequel series, Inazuman Flash. The characters also crossed over with Kamen Rider sometimes. Yeah, this one I don't really know what to say. The design's really freaky on this dude. There's like a few different designs. One of them is kind of creepy looking. But yeah, it's a pretty strange design, pretty strange character. But yeah, I don't know. A lot of these I really have an interest in watching. I'm not sure about Inazuman. Segata Sanshiro was a character made by Sega to advertise the Sega Saturn. He was a parody of the main character from an Akira Kurosawa movie called Sanshiro. Probably the highest thing on my watch list out of everything I've discussed today. The character often performed ridiculous feats of strength and was portrayed by the original Kamen Rider actor Hiroshi Fujioka, and just overall cool dude, by the way. Yeah, these adverts are hilarious. I've known about these long before I knew about stuff like Kamen Rider and the such, and yeah, the most famous one is where he just grabs a guy, he chucks him, and he just blows up. So, yeah, I think that's probably the main reason why the Sega Saturn was more popular over in Japan than it was in America. Yeah, if you have time, I think if I could recommend watching anything after this, yeah, watch those adverts, they're hilarious. Kaiketsu Zubat is yet another Shotaro Ishinomori show from 1977. The character is most well known for his cool scarf and big Z on his head. I don't really know what to say about a lot of these, the amount of show, like all the different Shotaro Ishinomori shows, because I haven't seen them, and just sort of looking at them, they look very similar. So yeah, but he's got a big Z on his head. He looks like a Super Sentai, like a red Super Sentai Ranger. Like I swear that was just him when I saw like pictures of him earlier. But no, yeah, there's also pictures of him with a guitar, so maybe, I don't know, maybe he uses a guitar as a weapon. I don't know. Looks cool though, he looks really cool, so I don't know, maybe I'll watch it. Red Man is a show about a merciless, villainous murderer who kills all of the monsters of the Ultraman series for absolutely no reason. There was also a series of shorts that were purely just fights, because it was cheaper to make than an actual series, and is well known for being really cheaply made. It also has an awesome theme song performed by Masato Shimon, who should have been mentioned on this tier list. He contributed a lot to Tokusatsu. I was kind of joking there. Basically, Red Man is just a show where it's like this new character goes around beating up the characters of the Ultra series, and I think the whole point of it is that, like, technically in the context of the show the monsters are bad, but because they're just these 3-minute segments of just fights, it just looks like this murderous guy in a suit is going around killing all these monsters. I don't know, it's just, that's sort of like the meme that's being created around the character. Just this horrible, horrible killer. Yeah, it's kind of funny. If you watch them out completely out of context, they are pretty funny. Some of them are available on YouTube as well, so look them up, they're quite funny. So now we've gone into the obscure Tokusatsu media. This is where I mean, some of it isn't as obscure as it should be, but yeah, most of this stuff's kind of weird. You have to be a bit of a super fan to know these things. So, starting off, we've got other 70s Tsuburaya shows. So other than the Ultra franchise and previously mentioned Red Man, they've made Fireman, Jumborg Ace, and Mirror Man. I don't know what makes them so different to all the other characters, but yeah. They haven't made many other, like, separate franchises other than Ultra stuff, unlike Toei, which have made like a ton of franchises. They mostly stick to Ultraman, and they don't really use these characters anymore, but yeah, there's some weirder, sort of forgotten characters. This one I found really interesting, the Lost Bioman pilot. Chodenshi Bioman was the Super Sentai series that Saban wanted to adapt before adapting Zyuranger. The pilot fell through, but much of the footage was reused for another pilot that used Zyuranger footage, and was called Galaxy Rangers. The pilot then becoming the Power Rangers. No footage from the original Bioman pilot has resurfaced, except for the footage used in the Galaxy Rangers pilot. I find Lost Media just kind of interesting in general, but yeah, I would love to see something like that. Like a very, very early idea of what the Power Rangers could have been. This one I find a bit weird because it's not that obscure, like, people who aren't even into Tokusatsu are aware of this. SSS Gridman is a 2018 one-season anime that is a spin-off of a Tokusatsu show called Gridman. The SSS... the SSS stands for Special Signature to Save a Soul. I'm not familiar with this show. I'm sort of familiar with the original Gridman. I guess what this is getting at is that not a lot of people know it's originally from a Tokusatsu show. A lot of the anime fans that watch it, which it is a pretty popular anime, don't know that it's originally a Tokusatsu show before that. Ultraman vs. Kamen Rider on Family Feud. This was a Japanese Family Feud episode that included Kamen Rider and Ultraman cast members on separate teams being asked questions about their respective franchises. The episode also came out just before the Ultraman vs. Rider TV special. So yeah, I'm imagining this was just to like maybe hype it up a little bit, and it predates it by quite a bit, so maybe, I don't know, maybe this is what led to it happening. The first crossover, technically. And yeah, it's quite funny. You get a lot of the actors sort of going back into their roles, doing the poses and stuff. I don't know what they're saying, like, at all, because it's not subbed. But yeah, it's quite interesting, I guess. It's quite funny looking. Madoka Magica was inspired by Kamen Rider Ryuki. This is when we get into a problem. I am very, very not familiar with anime stuff, so bear with me through some of these ones that related to anime. Madoka Magica is a one-season anime series about magical fighting souls. What? Bro, okay, I can't be bothered trying to explain this one. Kamen Rider fans found that Madoka Magica had a lot of similarities to Kamen Rider Ryuki, and has led to a lot of fan art of characters from both shows. Fan art looks kind of funny. Yeah, supposedly it's similar. I tried researching it, but honestly I couldn't make heads or tails of what it was. So yeah, I guess Kamen Rider Ryuki is similar to Madoka Magica, whatever that is. One Punch Man is a toku, and I am kind of familiar with this one. One Punch Man is an anime show about an incredibly powerful superhero called Saitama. I'm not like super familiar with One Punch Man, but I'm assuming they're referring to the fact that the main character is very overpowered, which is a common trope, especially in some early tokusatsu. So I'm guessing that's what they're referencing, but then again I haven't seen the show. Maybe there's something else to it. Anime fans, help me please. Samurai Flamenco is another one-season anime from 2013 that is about a boy with no superpowers trying to become a vigilante. The designs of the superheroes in this series take very clear inspiration from designs of Super Sentai ranges. Like, I mean, they look like Super Sentai ranges, and I think that's what it was trying to get at. Forgotten Toei shows. There are a few other Toei shows that haven't been mentioned earlier, like Robot Detective, Giant Robo, Mechanical Violator Kikaider, and the amazing Lady Battle Cop. Lady Battle Cop. Lady Battle Cop. Brilliant. Stan Lee's Son Vulcan. So I told you Stan Lee would come back. Taiyo Sentai's Son Vulcan is a Super Sentai show that Stan Lee of Marvel fame wanted to bring over to the US before Haim Saban's Bioman pilot. So it goes from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, then the Galaxy Rangers pilot, Bioman pilot, and then Stan Lee's idea of bringing over Son Vulcan. So that's kind of how that thing goes. This is most likely due to Stan Lee's love of Toei's Spider-Man series. I just written here what a legend, because this dude was just like an absolute legend. You can't not love Stan Lee, and I would have loved to see what he would do with something like that. It's clear that he had a love for like all superheroes and superhero related things. So of course he would love this kind of stuff. And yeah. So now we're going into the very obscure tokusatsu. This is where we get to the weirdest stuff, some of the more obscure knowledge. Or just some little known stuff, I guess. I did not know any of these, I don't think. Oh, except for one, which is kind of weird, but we'll get to that. Starting off with Tokusatsu Gaga is a 2019 J-drama series all about a girl who was a huge fan, who's a Toku fan, but was told by her parent that it was an immature hobby. Later on in her life, she finds more people who are interested in Tokusatsu and is able to get back into the hobby. Also, the show within the show, like the Tokusatsu show that she likes, is called Bestial Storm Jushuan. And it has no connections to any other existing Toku show, but I think it's, again, meant to be based on Super Sentai. It sounds interesting. It's only like a 7-episode series. It's not... I don't think it is actually a Tokusatsu show. It's a J-drama. But yeah, sounds kind of neat. The Flash is a Toku. The Flash is a Toku because it's got like city kid stuff, like a villain that's like a giant smart gorilla.
Barack Obama, it will almost be an honor to kill you.
Or probably because he transforms. I don't know. I couldn't be bothered researching this one. I couldn't find anything. But yeah, I imagine it's because he transforms. But maybe it has to do something to do with Gorilla Grodd. NSYNC. I was so confused when I saw this, but trust me, it was great. This is by far the best one on the entire Iceberg. This is from a live show performed by boy band NSYNC in Japan, where one of the members talked about how much they loved watching Ultraman as a child. Then, Ultraman appears to meet the band on stage. And it is glorious. You can find a video of it, it's brilliant. Still not sure if it was as great as that time they got to meet Milhouse, though.
I can't believe I'm eating Milhouse. Word.
Tiga dub only exists to explain joke. I've heard this one a few times. Ultraman Tiga is the 12th core show in the Ultra series. 4Kids, a parent channel of the Fox network, dubbed a few Ultraman Tiga episodes in English to play on the channel. The dub is so awful that it is often theorized that it was only made as a joke, similar to Ghost Stories, a children's ghost hunting anime that was turned into a crude adult comedy when brought over to America. Yeah, that was a real thing they did. Look up some of the clips from Ghost Stories, it's hilarious. But yeah, I can kind of see where they're coming from. Like, if you just listen to like the intros, it's one of the lamest things ever. And there was another thing. I was just reading up on it briefly, and I think they mistake the gender of one of the characters in it in the dub. They assumed that like one of the female characters was male, and in the dub they all refer to that character as a male. Stuff like that. Like that's how bad it is. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it was just like a joke thing, and you know, it was cheap to get. I think something similar got done with I think a better example would be, I forget what it's called, but it's a Chinese show where they use marionettes. Maybe it's Taiwanese. But yeah, they use it's like anime but with marionettes, and it looks really cool. But yeah, when they brought it out, I think Cartoon Network brought it over to America. They just got rid of like any sort of seriousness and turned it into like a flat out comedy, and yeah, well done, America. Indie Toku. This refers to indie tokusatsu shows, which are often low budget or fan projects based on other franchises like Kamen Rider Asura. I don't think I'm familiar enough at all to kind of get into, like, I haven't even seen many tokusatsu shows in general. I don't think I should be diving into the indie tokusatsu shows. But yeah, they exist. It's mostly fan projects and just low budget projects, and it's great to support these things, I guess. Support fan project. This is a weird one, because this guy's pretty famous, like pretty prolific. Hideaki Anno is a famous Japanese director and animator who is well known for creating Evangelion and teaming up with absolute legend Shinji Higuchi to make Shin Godzilla and the upcoming Shin Ultraman. Shin Godzilla is one of my favourite tokusatsu things ever. It's incredible. I urge everyone to watch it. I haven't seen Evangelion yet. I will get around to it. But yeah, I think that's most of his contribution to tokusatsu. I don't know, maybe he worked on like some other obscure tokusatsu project, and that's why it's so low down on this list. But that's what I know him for. Yeah, watch Shin Godzilla. And now we get to the meme level. Like, there's not really much obscure information in this one. It's just like jokes, really. So I'm just gonna hit you with a bunch of joke explains. Jimmy Fallon is an Ultraman, and Jimmy Kimmel is a Kamen Rider. I can be bothered explaining these, so I just took it from the Reddit post that this Iceberg originally came from. Somebody left a comment who's now a deleted user, basically explaining this one. It's mainly a joke about how there are sketches on Jimmy Kimmel's show where he visits the worlds of various TV shows like Simpsons and Game of Thrones, similarly to how Decade visits the other various worlds. The Jimmy Fallon one is a joke about how he plays himself on both iCarly and 30 Rock, yet iCarly is a show within the 30 Rock universe. But if you watch the Superior 8 Ultra Brothers movie, this could be an explanation. That's your explanation for this joke or whatever. Joke explained. Bang. Toku proves Tommy Westphall. This one is actually not as much of a joke, it's actually kind of interesting. So Tommy Westphall universe is a theory that originated from a show called Saint Elsewhere, but it's all about connecting characters from different universes by finding different crossovers. For an example, Simpsons met the Griffins from Family Guy. Family Guy crossed over with American Dad. Henceforth, the Simpsons and American Dad universes are connected. This could apply to most Toku because of the absurd number of crossovers. So, you know, Ultraman crossed over with Kamen Rider. So, if you could find who's Ultraman crossed over with NSYNC, NSYNC crossed over with The Simpsons. The Simpsons had everything in it, so now Kamen Rider and Ultraman are now crossed over with everything. Alright, okay, I know it's like it uses shows and stuff, but I don't know, I guess that's sort of an example of how that sort of thing works. Every anime contains a Kamen Rider reference. I imagine this is something like the JoJo reference meme, where people will make connections to Kamen Rider from the vaguest thing. I can't say I know anyone like that. Tom. I've been so mean to Tom in this video. The Grinch is a tokusatsu. I'm assuming because he dresses like Santa, and that could be seen as a transformation like in tokusatsu. Maybe there's like a more elaborate joke about it, but yeah, he transforms, so tokusatsu. Bang. This one I was going to leave empty because it says do not research. It's Geo Trinity form, and I was assuming this was because, like, I don't know, you know, like there's some words on the internet that are code words for bad things. I mean, I knew it probably wasn't that, but just in case, I decided to check with a friend of mine, and yeah, no, it's fine. It's basically just another meme about how the design looks rubbish, and it really does. It's a really horrible looking design. It makes me sick looking at it. Yeah, that's Geo Trinity form. I was literally just going to like not research. It says do not research. I was tempted to just not do that. And that is the iceberg. That's the whole of the iceberg. I wanted to mention some things that I felt were missing, and overall I did have some problems with the iceberg. Stuff like Hideaki Anno being at the bottom I found really weird, and the fact that there was no real obscure trivia or anything like that in the bottom was kind of strange as well. There's some stuff that I think they could have added. There was barely any kaiju stuff, or just film stuff in general. Like film tokusatsu was left out completely, I feel. So yeah, here's some more obscure Toku films that aren't Godzilla, I guess. You got other Toho films like Mothra, Rodan, and War with Gargantuans, Gamera, Daimajin, Young Gary, Reptilicus, Pulgasari, just to name a few. Like, there's so much. I think that was completely missed out. I'm assuming the person who made this isn't too familiar with those things, and that's completely fine. But I felt like if I made it, I would include some of that. Also, there was did they mention any Toho shows? I don't think they did, but they didn't mention any of the obscure Toho shows. Like, they talked about all the Subaraya and Toei stuff, but none of the stuff that Toho made, like Zone Fighter, Go Godman, and Green Man. Yeah, unfortunate name. Actually, same goes for Red Man and Kaiketsu Zubat, judging that a rapper and a Pokemon comes up instead when you research them individually. But yeah, I thought it was a really cool iceberg. I hope you learned a little bit from watching this video. I definitely learned a bit researching this. I forgot to look it up, but here is the name of the person who made the iceberg. Thank you very much. And yeah, I found this very interesting. Yeah, if you want me to do more icebergs, or want to recommend any icebergs, I do love doing these kind of videos. I love doing the research for them. So yeah, recommend any that you find interesting, and I'll cover them. Peace.